And welcome, folks, to Champions for Life. I'm your host, Ken Wilson. So absolutely delighted to be in the studio with you today. Shout out to kkvv.com and the radio station, KKVV 1060 AM, for rebroadcasting this podcast over their airwaves. We love KKVV, the light of Las Vegas. Of course, Champions for Life, if you're not familiar with it, is an outreach ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services, one of the premier, it's actually the premier crisis pregnancy center, pregnancy help center in the nation. And you know who said that, Max? Max?
Who said that?
You know who said that. It was Focus on the Family. Max, of course, is our producer, making things happen, clicking all the bells and whistles, and making us sound good. And Focus on the Family. Many years ago, presented an award to a clinic right here in Las Vegas as the most outstanding model crisis pregnancy center in the entire United States. And do you know how many? There's thousands of pregnancy centers. Did you realize, I don't know if you knew this, Max, we outnumber abortion clinics like hundreds to one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There are literally thousands upon thousands of crisis pregnancy centers throughout the nation.
That's awesome.
And pregnancy centers, abortion clinics they're on the demise. And in part, thanks to the shriveling, the defunding of, via our tax dollars, of Planned Parenthood, and consequently, the abortion clinics are closing. The other reason, sadly, is, of course, the abortion pill, which we're going to be talking about today. But we got stuff in the news. We're going to be talking about the Comstock Act. Now, a lot of you don't know about this. In fact, I got to be honest with you. I heard of it years ago, forgot all about it, and someone reminded me about the Comstock Act. Now, this is a very old law we're going to be looking at, but it dates all the way back to the 1800s. And it deals with the problem that we have today of the proliferation of and distribution of the abortion drug via the mail. So we're going to be looking at that. So, plus a letter to the DOJ that I wrote today in light of that. And so we're going to be talking about that. I want to mention there's an upcoming event, first of all, that you want to be a part of, especially if you're a pastor or youth pastor or a leader of any type in our community here in Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City. And it is going to be what we're calling a pastor's luncheon, which is coming up May 12th at 1 p.m. at the Four Seasons Church. And that's located at 2980 South Durango, Suite 103. Can't miss it, actually. If you just go to 2980, you'll see the Four Seasons Church right there. And again, that's going to be May 12th at 1 p.m. And pastors, we're going to feed you lunch. It's going to be awesome. And it's not going to cost you a dime. And you're gonna get to hear great speakers. You're gonna get to hear about the ministry of First Choice, and also some critical issues that are coming up. For example, question 6, which is coming up in November. Be informed. Get information so that you can invite First Choice to your church. And youth pastors, especially, listen. This crisis of unplanned pregnancies does affect your youth. Not to say that your youth get in trouble themselves, but they have friends, right? They have friends, whether they're in school or in college, where they find out maybe their friends have the pill, or perhaps talking about the abortion pill, right? Or maybe they're pregnant and they have no answers. Your youth needs to know about this clinic, this free clinic, First Choice Pregnancy Services, because they can then inform their friends about the services that we provide for free. And you never know. Sometimes their friends get into very terrible situations, and maybe they want to keep it a secret, or maybe they don't think they have any answers. First Choice is ready. Not only are we confidential in our services, of course, because we're HIPAA compliant, but we also minister in love in the name of the Lord, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, towards them. The compassion and love that we're commanded to share with our neighbors and these young ladies who are pregnant and have no answers. So, pastors, come to our pastor's luncheon. It's free. Again, that's going to be May 12th at 1 p.m. at the Four Seasons Church, 2980 South Durango, Suite 103. And, of course, there's always our website. You can get a lot more information about our services from the client side at firstchoicelv.com. That's firstchoicelv.com. And for you young ladies, or for any of your friends, for example, that are looking for an appointment, we always are able to book an appointment online. And we always have our 24/7 nurse that is always there for you. Not only that, we have our abortion pill protocol, our abortion pill reversal protocol, a hotline number for young ladies who have taken the abortion pill, right, and now regret it. Or maybe they had been given it, maybe it was slipped to them, and now something's not right, and they think they may have taken the abortion pill, and they want to reverse it. The issue is time critical for them. They must see our doctor immediately in order to save the life of their child. And here's the number 877-558-0333. Again, for the abortion pill reversal protocol, where a nurse is there 24/7. That number, 877-558-0333. And you will always get a nurse that will lead you to a doctor that will get potentially life-saving medicine to the mother and for the child. And these are just some of the services that we provide here at First Choice. That's why I absolutely love this ministry, because we never charge our young ladies that walk through the door, or families. We don't ever charge them a dime for any of the services. We don't charge for the pregnancy tests. We don't charge for the ultrasound. We don't charge for the initial visit or the consultation. We don't charge for the resources that we provide. And listen, there are a lot of options, not only through us, but through other agencies that are Christian-based, a lot of them, that want to provide for the young lady to make sure, listen, everything, even housing. I can't wait to get Living Grace Homes on the show, and we're going to be talking. With the lady that runs that very soon, because they have phenomenal news coming up, and I'm so looking forward to that broadcast. Living Grace Homes, one of the options for homes for moms that are pregnant and looking for a place. They don't have a place to stay, and it's just a beautiful homes. Beautiful. In fact, she has two of them. And now they're going to expand their facility. It's just fantastic, just great news. Along those lines, we want to talk about the stats for this past week. It's always busy here at First Choice, always busy. During this past week, we have done, free of charge, 49 pregnancy tests. Just in the past, 5 days, 6 days? 49 pregnancy tests and 32 ultrasounds, all free of charge. Absolutely free of charge to the ladies and families in the Las Vegas Valley. It's just absolutely amazing how busy we are. And God has blessed us to be able to serve in that capacity. And so if you'd like more information about maybe being a part of First Choice, because listen, if you're a medical professional, listen, we could use you, whether you're a nurse, a sonographer, maybe you're an administrator, maybe you have some IT experience, whatever it is. Look into being a volunteer or even part of our hired staff. You can find out more information at fcpschampions.org. That's fcpschampions.org. And plus you'll see, I think all of our broadcasts, all our podcasts are there too, right, Max? Pretty much?
Yeah, there.
And so you can see all the great interviews that we've done and all the fantastic people that make it happen here in the state of Nevada. And you'll get a lot of information about who we are, what we do. By the way, for you ladies, we have another event coming up, and it's a ladies' tea. Now, the ladies' tea is coming up, that's coming up May 7th, so it's right around the corner. And for those of you who are viewing this over YouTube or Rumble, you're seeing the ad there, A Cup of Grace. That's going to be at... I believe that is in Henderson, 2902 Lake East Drive in Las Vegas, 89117. That's not Henderson. It's not. And anyway, that's going to be Thursday, May 7th at 1 p.m. It says our ad is, join us for a beautiful afternoon of tea, connection, and hope. Be inspired by powerful stories of grace and new beginnings. There's going to be raffles. Special items are going to be made available to you for the event. We're just going to bless you just by showing up, ladies, and have a nice tea. And you know what? Word is, Max, some guy is going to crash the tea.
Who?
The teapot. I don't know. He's going to remain anonymous. You never know.
There's no boys allowed.
Well, okay, so they can kick him out when he gets there.
That's awesome.
We might just crash it. Yeah, we might just show up, and say hi and grab a tea to go and say bye. And so, that way you get to, take a peek at the host of the show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, that's for you ladies. The ladies' tea, May 7th, 1 p.m. And again, that's going to be at 2902 Lake East Drive. 2902 Lake East Drive, Las Vegas, 89117. And again, it's going to be May 7th, 1 p.m. And it's going to be awesome. The FC Champions, second annual ladies' tea. A cup of grace. So you want to be there for that. It's going to be fun. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge RTS Postal Express for all your printing needs, whether it's color copies, whether it's black and white copies. Maybe you would like your company or business logo on your shirts or your cups or your umbrellas, or perhaps you need business banners or signs. You name it, RTS Postal Express. My man Angelo, if you mention Champions for Life, you will get a discount on your order, so make it a big one. For more information, contact RTS at 702-489-4859. Again, that's 702-489-4859. RTS Postal Express, one of the proud sponsors of the Champions for Life broadcast. And okay, so now let's get to some. Got some interesting stories in the news today. We're going to be talking about the Comstock Act. We're going to be talking about that, but also Louisiana. Did you know that there are 28 states out of the 50? 28 states out of the 50 that have laws on their books restricting the mailing in of abortion drugs, in this case, medication of any type, but some states specifically, the abortion drug into their state because of the pro-life laws that they have enacted. So they've enacted a law that says, hold on a second, no abortion drugs are allowed to be mailed in unless, in some states, the exception is mailed to a doctor directly, so that the young lady and family have to go to the doctor first to see the drug. In other words, you can't just order them and then have them shipped to your mailbox. So 28 states out of 50. So that's the majority, right? And unfortunately, Planned Parenthood has seen to it that this law is invalidated, of no effect. And so all these pro-life states that have laws enacted, trying to keep their mothers and children alive, they're finding that, it doesn't matter what laws they pass because this abortion drug is just being mailed in by order, thanks to Planned Parenthood. And they're becoming very frustrated. One of those states is my home state of Louisiana. And so they're going to an appeals court and saying, listen, stop this. We have laws on our books which state that we want to protect the prenatal children in our state, and we do not want abortion drugs to be mailed in at will, circumventing our state laws. And so this is going all the way to the U.S. Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit. So we've got that in the news. And you know what? There's a crazy case. I don't know if we have time to get to it, but there's this case is in Indiana, and this is ridiculous. The American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana filed a case on behalf of the Hoosier Jews for Choice. Yeah, I'm not making this up. The Hoosier Jews for Choice, claiming their argument is that abortion is a religious right, And because it is a religious right, Indiana's pro-life laws are notwithstanding. Therefore, their client and clients and anyone else who claims abortion is a sacrament or religion or a religious right should be able to have abortions for any reason at all, whatever reason, but the main reason is that it is you would think I'm making this up. Have you ever heard of anything like this, Max? I mean,
can't say that I have.
No, I mean, how crazy is this? So we're going to see if we're going to get to this.
Didn't they
crazy
say that,
story.
It was a religious right to own slaves?
They probably did. They probably did. That would be an interesting analogy to make. I don't know. We may have to look that up. But yeah, owning slaves, actually, they made this into a right. They labeled that human beings could become property. Right? And if human beings are property, you can do whatever you want with them, including kill them. And such is the case for abortion. Right? Your child, your prenatal child, is your property. If it's your property, you can do whatever you want, including kill it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's frightening the mental gymnastics people, citizens, organizations have taken to make sure, including making abortion a religious right, to make sure that abortion remains legal for any reason throughout the United States. And thankfully, a lot of states are saying enough's enough. Enough's enough. We're tired of the complications. We're tired of all these women ending up in our emergency rooms. We've mentioned already that, if you take the abortion drug, right, 1 out of 11 women out of 100, over 1 in 10, are going to end up in the emergency room. Now, you have to understand why that is. First of all, the plan is this 2-part medication, so-called medication. It's really poison. It's poison. You take the first drug, mifepristone, it kills the child. So the child is dead in the womb. The second drug, Cytotec, then causes contractions for the mom, and then expels So what happens is the mom delivers a dead baby at home. The mom delivers a dead child at home. As traumatic as that is on its own, can you imagine the emotional devastation? I've already heard of cases where, the moms have to move. The mothers that have ended the life of their child in their home because they've seen, because of all the blood and everything else, and the dead child, and they can see the child. And it's like they can't, because every time they go into their home, they're reliving the traumatic experience of their abortion procedure because they did it themselves, right? They've had to move. They can't live there anymore. I mean, the cases are phenomenal. But the problem is the abortion drug, 1 in 11 women are going to end up in the emergency room because there's massive bleeding. There's no medical oversight. You do it at home. Nobody cares, right? You're all on your own. Nobody's going to know, you think. But there's sepsis. There's problems. There's incomplete, abortion and all these problems. And a lot of these women end up in the emergency room, and it's crazy. And so a lot of states have passed laws that said, enough of this. You're taxing the medical industry. You are taxing our emergency services by, thousands of abortions now that would be happening in our state, and they've ended it. If you don't want to get pregnant, there's an easy way. There's an easy way to not get pregnant. So Louisiana, of course, they've asked the Court of Appeals to do with that. So we're going to be looking at that. So this morning, I was feeling a little industrious, Max. Max, of course, is our producer. And I wrote a letter to the Department of Justice because we have a new Attorney General for the United States. And so I sent him off a letter, and here was my letter. And you can do the same, by the way. You can do the same. Yeah, it's easy. The website, I think, is DOJ, the Department of Justice.org. I believe it is. I believe we have it up on the website. In our show notes, I believe. And it's justice.gov. That's what it is. Justice.gov. And you can send a letter to the Department of Justice. In fact, you could direct it to the Attorney General specifically if you want. But anyway, about to read you my letter. And it's thus: Dear DOJ, I said, one of the hallmarks of this administration has been the adherence to established law. Unfortunately, your administration has approved another generic form of mifepristone which is the abortion drug, for Evita Solutions in direct violation of the Comstock Act. Comstock Act, right? The ruling opinion is that the drug or drugs would not be used by the recipient for an unlawful abortion, as opposed to a legal abortion, right? So that's how they get around the Comstock law, the Comstock Act, which we're going to be talking about in a second. And however, your administration is overseeing the distribution of the abortion drugs in states that have passed pro-life laws restricting and or lawfully forbidding its distribution within their borders, including Alabama, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. Right? So all these states have very strict laws about mailing in drugs, right? And, you know, they don't want this abortion drug being shipped into their state. My letter continues. Other states have restrictions on mailing drugs to patients within their states, including Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. In total, over half of the United States, 28 states, forbids or imposes legal restrictions on abortion pill access, which includes mailing the drug into their state. Furthermore, I wrote, 11% of all women taking the abortion pill, mifepristone, require hospital emergency room physicians after taking the abortion drug. Please consider the millions of pills that have already been distributed throughout the United States and the many tens of thousands of women who have access and or are taking or plan to take mifepristone without any medical supervision. Fatalities and severe physical trauma, as well as the strain on medical facilities and staff, will only continue to escalate as otherwise healthy American women continue to ingest this unregulated drug. Please reevaluate the Comstock Act, I can't say it today, Comstock Act, and the reasoning why the authors felt this law was critical and necessary in protecting the American public. Thank you. Sincerely, Ken Wilson, Department of Justice.
It's a good letter.
And this is where Max puts in a little applause. There's some applause. And if there's some applause, hey, it sounds great. Anyway, I sent this today. I sent this to the Department of Justice because of the Comstock Act. The Comstock Act, which is part of federal law, forbids this from happening. In other words, sending drugs across state lines that are unsupervised, including the abortion drug, which women can take at home to deliver a dead baby. And quite too often flush it right down the toilet, sadly. Very sadly. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what this Comstock Act is, because here's what the Supremes have said. You know, the Supremes have kind of taken the Comstock Act and kind of said, well, this bill, this act was actually, this law was actually written to forbid unlawful abortions. And abortions are legal in the United States, therefore they're not unlawful, therefore we can mail the abortion drug. This is do you understand the mental gymnastics that happen? And these are the Supreme Court justices of the United States. I mean, it's obvious what the intent of the Comstock Act was. And these guys they turn 180 on its meaning in order to allow the dispersal of this drug. It's incredible. And I'll read it to you. The Comstock Act. It's called an act for the suppression of trade in and circulation of obscene literature and articles of immoral use. I know that's a mouthful. Keep in mind, this law was back in the 1870s. I can't remember, 1875, 1876. So it's after the Civil War. That's a long time ago. But part of this act, and we're going to be talking about the guy that Mr. Comstock himself, Anthony Comstock. We're going to be talking about him a little bit and in a moment. But the pertinent part of this law, and it's a law on the books. It's on the books. States, being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that Section 148 of the Act to revise, consolidate, and amend the statutes relating to the Post Office Department, approved June 18th, 1872, be amended to read as follows: that no obscene, lewd, or lascivious book, pamphlet, picture, paper, print, or other publication of an indecent character, or any article or thing designed or intended for the prevention of conception or procuring of abortion, nor any article or thing intended or adapted for any indecent or immoral use or nature, nor any written or printed card, circular, book, pamphlet, advertisement, or notice of any kind, giving information directly or indirectly, where or how or of whom or by what means either of the things before mentioned may be obtained or made, shall be carried in the mail. In other words, little old English there, but the bottom line is none of this stuff is going to go through the United States Post Office. And furthermore, it says in Section 3 that all persons are prohibited from importing into the United States from any foreign country any of the hereinbefore mentioned articles or things. So, oops, I think I saw something about, I think it was Hugh Hefner was complaining that the post office does not need to get into the pornography business, that they need to, but he took it from the other ops. He said, the bottom line is that they should leave pornography alone and leave it to him and just deliver the mail. So, but again, part of the Comstock Act. But the part that's of interest and pertinent today is the fact that even in the late 1800s, Mr. Comstock, Anthony Comstock, devout Pentecostal postal inspector, got this law enacted in Congress that forbade the sending of not only contraceptives, but drugs that would induce and cause abortion to be delivered by the United States Post Office. Comstock Act. It's part of federal law. Exists on the books today. And it's being ignored. This administration has ignored it. It's federal law. So I know there's a lot of you out there that love Trump. Listen, great. But the problem is we are poised to see more young people, prenatal children, die from abortion than ever in the United States, than ever before, because of the proliferation of this drug, because it's unregulated. It's not overseen by the FDA or the National Institute of Health or any agency of the government. Planned Parenthood has their way. And in fact, this administration, they blame it on the Bidens, they've approved of a generic form of this drug for another company. I think we mentioned who they were already in our letter. Yeah, it was Evita Solutions, which is providing their own generic form. Now, to be fair, this application was done during the Biden administration, but it was approved by the FDA during President Trump's administration. So, all right. So we're going to be taking in a moment. We're going to take a look at a little bit about a little history on Anthony Comstock and who he was, how it started, about the Comstock Act, federal law, folks. This is federal law. Sure, they're violating it like crazy, but in this case, when it's a matter of life and death, we need to be looking at federal law, and we're going to see how that started. But we're going to hear from our sponsors, and then we will be right back. I want to take a moment to acknowledge one of the great sponsors that make this portion of the broadcast possible, and that's Dr. Ray Kelly of Kelly Chiropractic. Treats injuries from falls, accidents, motor vehicle crashes, work-related incidents. For those of you who are suffering from allergies, he also has a procedure called acutherapy, going to treat your allergies and ease some of that discomfort. Accepts most forms of insurance. Been in the business over 33 years here in Las Vegas. Give him a call. Set up your appointment. The number is 702-870-9200. And welcome back, folks, to the Champions for Life broadcast. Just love our sponsors. We love Dr. Ray Kelly. Just an awesome doc. The beautiful thing about Dr. Kelly, by the way, is not only that he's just a sponsor of this broadcast, but he really knows what he does. And everything that he does, which is the list of stuff that he is qualified to do in helping you, whether it's from allergies or any kind of pain, from plantar fasciitis to neck pain to, even migraine headaches, to even your allergies, is amazing. And all of this can be found at dockelly.com. So I urge you, for any of you who are suffering from any type of pain, I'm going to tell you something. This is personal. I have one of my daughters. I'm blessed to have 3 daughters and 2 boys. And my second youngest daughter was suffering from migraines every month. Migraines. I mean, devastating, ends my day, come get me from school. I'm done. I can't function. And Doc Kelly said, bring her in. He said, bring her in. And I did. And the amazing thing is that it turns out, I like to tell my beautiful daughter, she didn't have her head on straight. There was a bone in her neck that was misaligned severely. And he told me, he said, it's part genetic, part hormonal. Both of those are combining that causing the migraine situation. But I tell you what, it has alleviated her migraines. Now her migraines are very rare. Very rare. And it's all thanks to Dr. Ray Kelly. I mean, my daughter is a firm believer in the services of Dr. Ray Kelly. And so I cannot urge you, if you're suffering from any type of pain, any type, folks, listen, I had back pain, couldn't play golf, couldn't do anything. And I love playing golf. If I'm not playing golf, I'm crying. Right, Max knows this, and because he doesn't want to go out there and witness, because that's just who he is. One day, Max is going to be a pro golfer. He just doesn't know it yet. Yep. But he got me back playing golf again because my back was killing me. It was just killing me. There's no way I could make a turn, play golf. And you know what? Now I'm back playing golf. All thanks to Dr. Ray Kelly. And the beautiful thing about Dr. Kelly, he's also a pastor. He pastors Trinity Church out there in Pahrump. And so he drives, his office is here in Las Vegas, but he drives every day. Every day that he's open here in Vegas, he drives all the way here. And he has for decades. And we love him. We absolutely love Dr. Ray Kelly of Kelly Chiropractic. He's going to help you. He will help you. I promise you. I can't promise, but I mean, at the very least, he can pray for you. Amen? So, all right, welcome back, folks. If you're wondering what you're listening to, this is the Champions for Life radio broadcast and podcast. And we are an outreach ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services. We're here serving our local community, all the women that find themselves in a pregnancy where there are difficulties. We are here to serve them via our doctors and our nurses and our staff. And this broadcast is an outreach ministry to them and to the young ladies and families of our community. If you need our services, all of our services here at First Choice, absolutely free. We never charge a dime for a client that walks through our doors, ever. Free ultrasounds, free pregnancy tests, free counseling, free resource allocation. You name it, we're gonna do it for you. And furthermore, we have the abortion pill reversal protocol now available on our website. And so if you are concerned that you have taken the abortion drug, or maybe you know of someone who is, you get a midnight call from a friend saying, listen, I've taken the abortion pill. What have I done? There's a number on our website. I'm going to give it to you now. The abortion pill reversal. You can call this number 24/7. And the reason why we have a 24/7 hotline for this is because time is critical. For a woman who's taken the abortion pill, the abortion drug, we've got to get her to our doctor immediately. That number, here's the number, 877-558-0333. Again, that's 877-558-0333. And if you missed that, you can log into our client-side website for First Choice. It's firstchoicelv.com. firstchoicelv.com. And all our numbers are there. Plus, if you want to get a nurse, you can set up an appointment via our website. It's all free. And furthermore, if you'd like to take a tour of our facility, because it's a beautiful facility, and you could even take a peek at our studio, which at the moment is a little cluttered. Our studio is a little cluttered with all kinds of electrical equipment. But you know what? We're still making it happen here. And we're just so pleased to be here to be able to serve you and to inform the community of this wonderful ministry, of which, by the way, we have now we're well over 47,000 children who are alive today, prenatal children who are alive today because First Choice exists. 47,000. It could very well be before the end of this year we breach 50,000. Isn't that amazing? 50,000, every single one of them free of charge. Some of them, a few dozen, because we have the abortion pill reversal protocol. Isn't that amazing? There are children that are alive today in Vegas. One of the ladies is a nurse. We now hired her. She was a trauma nurse at UMC. Amazing. Jessica, beautiful gal. Ended up pregnant. Husband forced her to take the abortion pill. Even though she's a trauma nurse, she took it anyway. And then instantly regretted it. Instantly. And then we came to First Choice. We provided the abortion pill reversal protocol. And now she's got a 2-year-old little bouncing baby girl that's just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And not only that, because Jessica was a nurse, she's now gone, not only did we hire her, but she's also gone before the Congress of the United States to testify why we need to stop flooding states with the unregulated, unsupervised distribution of the abortion pill. Jessica, one of our patients, clients, now one of our workers, one of the staff here at First Choice, now sitting before Congress. Amazing. Just absolutely amazing what God can do. In any event, all right, so we're talking about the Comstock Act. And for those of you who don't know, this Comstock Act forbids, it's federal law, forbids the distribution via the United States Postal Service, our post office, from delivering contraceptives and abortion drugs. It is against federal law. Yet it's being violated every day by the tens of thousands, thanks to Planned Parenthood, right? And in case you're wondering, this act was named after Anthony Comstock, who was a devout Protestant person turned postal inspector. He worked for the post office. And you know what? He got tired of seeing obscene, lewd, and what they call lascivious materials filtering through. He was tired of delivering garbage to the people in the state of New York. And he was the U.S. Postal Inspector during the Ulysses S. Grant administration. Yeah, that's right. From the 1870s all the way into the early 1900s. He was a dry goods salesman turned self-appointed censor. Sought to restrict what he did. Through this act, he started to try to get the restrictions on just garbage being flooded to the American people through the mail. It was enacted by Congress in 1873 and expanded the scope of obscene, lewd, and lascivious materials, making them banned from mailing, and that included information on birth control, abortion, and including contraceptives and drugs that could be used to procure an abortion. And you say, wow, I didn't even know they had that back in 1873. Well, Apparently they did. Congress repealed the ban on birth control materials back in 1971, but let the rest stand. Talking about birth control. So back in 1971, right, prior to Roe v. Wade, Congress repealed the ban on birth control, but not abortion drug, because this is a new thing. RU-46, which later became to be known as mifepristone, right? Now you can have the drug, you can have the abortion at home. And so I mean, if Anthony Comstock was alive today, he would not be able to, he wouldn't believe what he is seeing. Comstock, devout Protestant, appalled by the sexual permissiveness he witnessed in New York City, took it upon himself to rewrite federal postal laws to prevent the mails from being used to corrupt public morals. And he got Congress to pass the laws. And as a special agent for the U.S. Post Office, Comstock gained power to conduct raids and arrested suspected violators. So he fancied himself part of law enforcement. And he said he exercised that authority with gusto for the next 42 years, claiming credit for nearly 4,000 convictions, 160 tons of destroyed books and other materials. And a lot of people went to jail under the U.S. Postal Office's leadership. And absolutely amazing. His desire, of course, is not just to clean up New York, but the entire country. In 1873, he got his way when Congress passed an act for the suppression of trade in and the circulation of obscene literature and articles of immoral use. It became commonly known as the Comstock Act. Comstock Act. And days after the law passed, Post Office gave him the authority to enforce the law. And it was amazing what he was able to do. Now, not all the states loved the Comstock Act. There were numerous attempts to repeal them on the federal level. They lost. Many state legislatures embraced them with enthusiasm, some of them. In fact, more than half the states enacted their own Comstock laws in succeeding years. So not only did you have the federal laws, but you also had the state laws as well, mimicking what Anthony's tried to do with his federal law. Some of those laws were even harsher than the Comstock Act itself. And ultimately you can't stop legislators from tinkering. And sure enough, in 1908, they tinkered with it to the example they banned as indecent any material that might incite arson, murder, or assassination. So they stopped the mailing of articles which would promote federal crimes. And but there were a lot of people that fought back, and there were activists like Emma Goldman and of course Margaret Sanger, and they were targets of Mr. Comstock, and they in turn denounced him. But you know what, Comstock, he was a federal employee, and in 1914, he arranged to have Sanger indicted over the contents of her magazine, The Woman Rebel, which was her magazine. Of course, Margaret Sanger is basically the founder of Planned Parenthood. And the articles in of her magazine, The Woman Rebel, he called obscene, lewd, and lascivious, and she threatened her with a 45-year prison term. And she fled the country because of it, and went to Germany. Got to know Hitler, but she did face some in some of the earlier trials. She did return back in 1915, actually, to face the case, and it was dismissed by the government. But the bottom line is, the Comstock Act is federal law, and it prohibits the mailing by the United States Postal Service, our post office, of abortion drugs. Now, what difference does it make if the law is old? It's still on the books, right? Our Bill of Rights is even older, but it's still on the books. right? Our Constitution is older, but it's still the law of the land. It should not matter that age makes a difference when enacting or dismissing federal law, which is the point that I made to the Department of Justice when I sent my letter this morning. And so a little bit about the Comstock Act. So if people ask you, well, I have a right to receive abortion drugs through the mail. No, you don't. Federal law prohibits it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court gets around this because they say, and here we go again with the mental gymnastics, they get around this by saying that the Comstock Act, Mr. Comstock, originally meant this law to be for unlawful abortions, not for legal abortions. And therefore, the mailing of the drugs for legal abortions is permitted. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that insane? The insanity of the mental gymnastics our United States Supreme Court justices, the hoops they jump through, logically or illogically in this case, to reframe the thinking of and the precepts of the writer of the Comstock Act, Mr. Anthony Comstock himself. That's, of course, he would never have approved. He would have never approved of any abortion. And to claim that, it'd be okay to mail abortion drugs for the legal abortions is you can't. It's incredulous to think that this is to claim that this is what he would be thinking if he were alive today. And so they really need to enforce this law because obviously what's happening, women are ended up in our emergency rooms by the thousands because they're taking the series of these drugs at home. Some of these women are taking these drugs for children that are far more developed than they should be. Now you're running into all kinds of complications. Sometimes women take these drugs later in the pregnancy. The child survives it. Now they're taking the second drug and they're expelling a child that is still alive and breathing, and they're going to an emergency room trying to figure out what to do with this child. It's crazy what's happening. And there have been fatalities as well. This is insanity, and it needs to stop. It needs to be overseen by the federal government, by the Food and Drug Administration, and they need to enact laws, which is what spurred me to write my letter this morning. So anyway, that's a little history on the Comstock Act. Again, if you've missed any of this and you'd like a little refresher on anything that we've talked about today, you can view our show on our YouTube channel, Champions for Life Podcast, or on Rumble under FCPS Champions, and you can see us there as well. And, review some of this amazing information that I shared with you today. Now, let's get to Indiana. This is crazy. Indiana Supreme Court is going to hear an absurd case claiming that abortion is a religious right. I'm not making this up. The Indiana Supreme Court has agreed to hear a lawsuit that seeks to use the state's Religious Freedom Restoration Act to create a religious right to abortion. Marion County Superior Court Judge Christina Kleinman issued a permanent injunction in March blocking enforcement of Indiana's abortion ban for a select group of residents who claim religious objections to the law. In other words, so here you go. You've got the Hoosier Jews for Choice. I'm not making this up. This is what they call themselves. This is the plaintiff in the case, right? The American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana filed the case nearly 4 years ago on behalf of the Hoosier Jews for Choice and unnamed anonymous plaintiffs, right? Claiming that, religious objection to the laws that prohibit their abortion because Indiana has pro-life restrictions on abortion. And they claim, well, no, that doesn't apply to my client because we have a religious right to abort our child. Crazy. And so the case is going to be heard. The 2022 law prohibits nearly all abortions with limited exceptions for serious health risks to the mother, fatal fetal anomalies, rape, and incest. The ACLU lawsuit argues that the ban imposes a substantial burden on the religious practices of plaintiffs who supposedly need to kill their babies for religious reasons, their prenatal child for religious reasons. And said the ACLU, the core issue remains the same. Hoosiers do not lose their right to religious freedom when they become pregnant. Oh, gosh. How can you make this? How can you make this? And the ACLU said, we look forward to continuing to protect the right to religious exercise for Hoosiers as this case moves forward, claiming they are going to argue before the Indiana Supreme Court that the Hoosier Jews for Choice and anybody else in the state of Indiana has an absolute religious right to abortion, and this will be heard by the Indiana Supreme Court. I don't make this stuff up. If you don't believe it, you can read this on lifenews.com. Is where the story appeared. And the Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita, he's loving this. He says he can't wait. He can't wait to defend this. He can't wait for this case to. What a waste of taxpayer dollars, right? But he can't wait to take this case to the Supreme Court. And he said the lower court's decision fundamentally misunderstands religious liberty by claiming it confers a right to abortion. So a lower court agreed with the plaintiff in this case that brought this case. They agreed with them. Can you imagine? A lower court said, yeah, that makes sense. And so the state said, hold on a second. We have pro-life laws here, and there's no religious exception to abortion. And so they challenged it, the state of Indiana, and they're going to bring it all the way to the Supreme Court in Indiana. And he said, we look forward to continuing our defense of Indiana's pro-life laws in front of the Indiana Supreme Court. And it's just I don't know, Max. The world is getting crazier. I mean, it's just crazier. How in what universe do you have the religious right? I mean, can you imagine some kind of church service where all the people who are attending are women who are pregnant and are about to have an abortion, and we're all going to celebrate this as a sacrament on Sunday? I mean, well, how? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not understanding. Maybe I'm not enlightened enough. I really don't know. But the ACLU is going to take the Hoosier Jews for Choice, their client, all the way to the Indiana Supreme Court. You just can't make this up. You really can't. You really can't, folks. I mean, we need the Comstock Act to be enforced, and we need, you know what we really need? We need judges that are sober-minded, that won't hear this case. Like whoever is sitting on this district court that approved this, they need to lose their position next election. Hopefully they have elections for their judges. Sometimes judges are appointed, but if in Indiana you're electing people, please keep note of the cases that this judge is saying are perfectly fine, and do not vote them back into office. Do not vote them back into office. This is why we really need to know who we're voting for. We really do, especially when we're dealing with our judges. And if the judges are appointed by your city council or whoever, then you need to make sure that your city council members are upstanding citizens who don't believe in this nonsense. Nonsense. This is what this is. Not only that, it's a waste of taxpayer dollars because this is obviously going to be overturned, right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right, folks. Well, in the time remaining, I want to remind you of course, this, let's see, May 7th, 1 p.m., we're going to have the ladies' tea. For you ladies out there, it's going to be a ladies' tea, which is coming up, again, at 1 p.m. on May 7th, a cup of grace. It's the First Choice Champions second annual ladies' tea. It's going to be at 2902 Lake East Drive, 2902 Lake East Drive in Las Vegas. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a great time for your ladies. And I hear a word that someone's going to crash the the ladies' tea. I don't know. Some guy that's not wanted is going to
I wonder who that could be.
who's going to appear, and it's probably going to be Max. And Max is no, it's not going to be Max.
That's not me.
He says, "I'm not getting in trouble. You want to get in trouble? You go get yourself." It's going to be fun. It'll be great to see all the ladies out there and enjoying tea, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to want to be a part of that. Again, that's the ladies' tea coming up on May 7th, 1 p.m. at 2902 Lake East Drive. Here in Las Vegas, 89117. And it's on the west side, I believe, west side of town. Cup of Grace for you ladies. It's going to be awesome. And, of course, on May 12th at the Four Seasons Church, we got the Pastor's Luncheon. It's going to be at noon, and the address for that is 2980 South Durango, Suite 103. May 12th, for all you pastors and youth pastors, please attend. We're going to serve you lunch. We're going to buy you lunch, Pastor. It's going to be awesome. And you'll become more familiar with First Choice, our services. And for you youth pastors out there, please become familiar with First Choice and who we are so that we can be a more effective servant to our community with our clinic and our services. Amen? Well, folks, listen, that's been the end of the broadcast today. Listen, if you've got questions about anything that you've heard today, or if you want more information about the services that First Choice provides, you can give us a call. Our number is 702-294-CARE. That's 702-294-2273. The number's right below your screen, and our website, fcpschampions.org, right there as well, where you can get all the information. And all of our podcasts are available there, by the way. And by the way, our producer also wants you to know, please click like and subscribe when you are visiting our website and any of these podcasts, because it helps get the word out about our wonderful ministry here in town. Folks, that's it. It's been a pleasure as always speaking with you. And remember this, you can be a champion for life.